would now give the floor to our friend, Mr. Felix Dodds. Felix.
Thank you very much, the President of the General Assembly. It's an honour to be here rather than my table in the Vienna Cafe. 10 years from Joburg and 20 years from Rio, we're returning to the same question. How can the General Assembly address best sustainable development? We should review new and emerging issues: food security, energy security, climate security, water security. We need a 21st century governance structure, utilizing some of the approaches that we now see in the Committee of Food Security and UNAIDS, where major groups and other stakeholders are actually part of the governance structure.
I introduce Felix as the best connected man in the room. You're right at the center of various stakeholder dialogues. Give us your perspective and response.
I think, we have to be very, very careful about this. I mean, we saw with the banks where they privatized the profits and socialized the losses, and we're all suffering from the impacts of a lack of regulation, a lack of bureaucracy.
In fact, the estimation is that by 2030 we'll need an extra 30 or 40% of electricity because of changes in urbanization and changes in the economic development models in China and India. It's estimated that we'll need 30 to 40% more food as well, and that we'll have a shortfall in water of maybe 30%. And that will be not just in developing countries, it will also be in the United States.
I guess the planet and sustainable development is having a bit of a hard time at the moment, and it's going to get much more difficult as we move on. Rio+20 will need to provide much needed new momentum on environment and sustainable development. There have been many broken promises over the 20 years since the first Rio summit, and this has to stop. Our present lifestyles are drawing down the ecological capital from other parts of the world and from future generations.
It's my great pleasure to introduce Mr. Felix Dodds, the chair of the 64th Annual DPI NGO Conference and the co-chair of the Planning Committee. So, Felix, you have the floor.
I'd also like to underline the leadership role that the government of Germany is playing, because this is but one of 3 conferences that they are hosting on Rio+20 within 3 months. In October, they will be hosting a conference on forestry, and then in November, a conference which actually addresses some of the points that Akam talked about, a conference on water, energy and food security nexus, the ability to address the challenges of bringing communities together, because we do live in a complex world. And I think, considering the leadership role that they're playing, you should be going back to your governments and asking what role are they playing in mobilizing their communities and their support for Rio+20. On this generation falls the burden of proving to the world that we really mean it when we say that we're created free and equal and should all benefit from the fruits of this planet we live in a sustainable way.
This meeting is indeed a milestone in the search by the human community for a sound, sustainable balance between its economic and social priorities and the environment and life support systems of our planet on which all human activity and well-being ultimately depend.